Hello, guys. Our media here, and after over a year of waiting, we are back with another Cincinnati Bengals game review. Here it is, Nick. I knew you were waiting for it, and it is finally coming out tonight in all of its glory. Just kidding. It's probably going to be terrible because I have not done one of these in over a year, and you are probably going to click off immediately. Just kidding, Nick. I love you. Nick, for those of you who don't know, is my biggest fan, and I'll give him a bit of a shout out here. So, big shout out to Nick. Thank you for watching and being the most loyal of my 23 subscribers. So, we are going to dive right into this game against the Indianapolis Colts. We're going to talk about some stats, some plays, and then we're going to talk about the Ravens game that I'm going to be going to this week, which will be tomorrow at Paul Brown Stadium at 8 o'clock, 8:20 on Thursday Night Football. It's going to be a good one, I have a feeling. So we're going to jump right in. The first thing we do, we get the ball. Andy Dalton. We've heard he's changed the offseason. He looked great in the preseason. We think, oh, this is 2015 Andy. First thing he does, he throws an interception. Which, okay, yeah. Andy Dalton's still here. But besides that, and jokes aside, Andy Dalton played a very good game in my opinion. Besides that one first pass, Dalton was 21 of 27 for 243 yards and 2 touchdowns. And I do not know his quarterback rating other than that, but he had a 109.7 quarterback rating, or passer rating rather, in total for this game. Also on offense, Joe Mixon was very involved and looked very good. He had 5.6 yards a carry, 95 yards on 17 attempts. Giovanni Bernard was not very involved in the running game. He did get 1 catch for 11 yards in the passing game. Joe Mixon had 54 yards on 5 catches. Also in the passing game, Tyler Eifert was back. He had 3 catches for 44 yards, and Tyler Boyd had 3 catches for 26 yards. A.J. Green was our best receiver for the day, as we know. He had 6 catches for 92 yards and a touchdown. However, he had 2 fumbles, one recovered by Tyler Boyd, the other recovered by the Indianapolis Colts, who later scored a touchdown because of this. So the Bengals offense, the offensive line, played well in my opinion. There were some big give-ups, but these are some of these dudes' first times playing in the NFL, so I'm going to cut them a little slack. The receivers looked rather decent. The running game looked pretty good. Andy Dalton looked all right. This is the very bad Indianapolis Colts defense we're talking about, however. So let's get into a thing I'm a little more optimistic about, which is our defense. Our offense looked very good, and they scored the most points. This team, they didn't score this much last year once, so this is a good sign, don't get me wrong. But I'm very optimistic about our defense. The Colts' offense is definitely their strong suit, and we pretty much limited Andrew Luck to a lot he could do, and we limited T.Y. Hilton. And I know their running game isn't supposed to be great, especially now that Marlon Mack is out, but sorry about that. But this team is going to have a good offense this year, and their offense is going to win them some games. For defense for us, a couple standouts I have to say. Carlos Dunlap and Geno Atkins, good as usual. Both have a sack apiece. Guy who kind of surprised me was Nick Vigil, who came in and had 11 total tackles, a couple for loss, was all over the field, looked very good, saw some plays. I really liked that from Nick Vigil. And Clayton Fejedelum's a guy I really liked. After Sean Williams got ejected on a play I probably would eject him for, especially with the new helmet rules, Clayton Fejedelum came into the game, and he had 10 total tackles. He had the forced fumble, of course, which he recovered and took to the touchdown, which basically sealed the game for the Bengals. So a good play by Clayton Fejedelum, winning the game for the team. The defense, of course, stepping up big and winning the game for the team. Special teams, nothing super great on special teams. Randy Bullock did what he had to do. He was 2 for 2 on field goals. His long was a 42-yarder, and he was perfect on extra points. Kevin Huber looked good punting the ball. He only had to punt twice in this game, which was a good sign. We had a punt way more than twice in pretty much every game last year. And we didn't really do much in the kick return game because the Colts weren't scoring that much. But we had one apiece. The rest were, or one for Alex Erickson, one for Giovanni Bernard. The rest were touchbacks. So that was the stats for the game. But what did I see? What did I think? I think I'm a little concerned about this team still, and there are definitely going to be some concerns I have against the Ravens, who have a much better, probably offense and defense in this game, or than this team in the game coming up this week. But the offense looked way better than it did last year, especially against the Colts again last year, who I think this defense is probably close to that defense they had last year. Maybe it's a little better than the defense they had last year, the Colts defense. So we definitely did better against them. We looked better. We scored 27 points on offense and a touchdown on defense, even though I liked our odds to score on that drive before A.J. Green fumbled, so those kind of cancel out. But 27 points on offense is a big improvement for us, especially in our first game. That's kind of a tune-up for a lot of the players. So I liked what I saw from there, and the linebacker core, especially without Vontaze Burfict and Preston Brown, who got injured, is a little concerning, and I'm a little concerned about this depth in the secondary. Clayton Fejedelem is a good replacement at safety, but if one of our corners happen to go down, I don't really love Dre Kirkpatrick anyways, but I don't know who's going to replace him, Darqueze Dennard, or, heaven forbid, William Jackson III. The defensive line looked not as dominant as I hoped they would, but they featured Michael Johnson instead of a lot of pass rushing packages to focus in on the run a lot of the time, and for the most part, it worked. And the big problem I see is honestly the linebackers, people getting open under the middle, and with Captain out. I'm sorry, I thought Audacity froze for a minute, but it is okay. So we're going to really jump in. That's it for the Colts game. The Bengals won 34-23 this week. Good victory for the team. I was decently pleased with how it went. Now we're going to jump into the Ravens game because that is what we're close to. It is happening tomorrow night. So we are going to jump in and talk about it. I'm worried about this game, to say the least. I am worried because the Ravens looked dominant this weekend against the Buffalo Bills, and they did play Nate Peterman and Josh Allen for a lot of the game. So take what you want with that. And the Bills' offense is not going to be very good this year, in my opinion. But their defense is not terrible, and the Ravens put up 47 points against them. So what are we going to do? I think we are definitely a much better offense than the Bills are going to be, and our defense is probably a little better than the Bills. Or I'd say more than even a little better. Our defense is better than the Bills. I can say that confidently. So I think the big question this week is, can we score on Baltimore's dominant defense? Because Baltimore, with us in the past, last year, for example, in Baltimore, they had a tough time. Back in 2015, we swept them, I believe. In 2016, we gave them problems, even though they were a much better team than us then. Or is that? No. Yeah, that was definitely a year where they were better than us. In 2017, we beat them in the last game of the season, even though it was completely meaningless for us. So we have not been swept by Baltimore in a good while, I believe. So that's that. So what are we going to do to score? That's what I'm wondering, because their defense is so good. A.J. Green can find ways to get open. Tyler Eifert needs to get involved. John Ross needs to be involved. Joe Mixon needs to be able to run the ball and get involved in the passing game. Everything needs to kind of come together and work, in my opinion, for us to be able to score on this Baltimore defense. And we might need some help from our defense. I am not in love with Joe Flacco. I'm not in love with the Ravens receivers, even though it's better than they've been in the past by far, with Michael Crabtree, Willie Snead, John Brown. Definitely guys who can be a problem and Alex Collins is a much better back than the guys we faced against in Indianapolis last week. But I think our defense stops when we need it, especially with the Paul Brown Stadium crowd. So what is the keys to victory? The keys are first down, staying ahead, being able to run the ball a little bit. I think if there's a defense or a weakness on this Ravens team, I think it's probably their run defense, although there's not much of a weakness here that I can really see. So get Joe Mixon running, get Joe Mixon going early, and getting a lot of stops on defense, maybe interceptions on defense, getting the pass rush going much better than it went against Indianapolis, showing some exotic blitzes, some things we didn't show against them, and making adjustments. If we're down at halftime again, which I think there's a good chance we are, to talk through it and make adjustments like they did against the Colts, and to come back and beat this Baltimore Ravens team. I feel confident we can beat this team once this year. I don't know if it's going to be in Cincinnati, even though I hope it is, because I'm going to this game. However, I think we're definitely going to beat them once regardless. So 20-17 against the Baltimore Ravens. I think too many things need to go right for the Bengals to be able to win this game, especially with the Ravens beating the Bills 47-3 last week. Now, they usually do that a couple times a year. They put down one of these smackdowns in Baltimore with the home crowd, but they just looked so good doing it, and I don't really see many weaknesses on this team right now. So I really hope the Bengals can win, and I think they can definitely make this game close, which is why I'm predicting a 20-17 victory for the Ravens. However, I think this could definitely go the other way, and if the Bengals can beat the Ravens, especially in a fashion kind of like they beat the Colts this week, I am much more confident with this team going in further to the season, because the Panthers have looked vulnerable. The Falcons definitely looked vulnerable. The Steelers looked vulnerable. All these teams who are supposed to beat us, the Saints look vulnerable. The Chargers did. All these teams who are supposed to beat us this year have looked like there are weaknesses on them. So if we can beat the team that looked probably the best in the NFL in week 1, even though they did play a crappy Bills team, I will admit that, there's a lot of optimism and excitement, I believe. So, again, very excited for this game against the Ravens coming up. Good victory against the Colts. I want to thank you guys for watching, especially Nick. I hope this is worth the wait, Nick. I also want to throw some shout-outs to my boy Sam and my boy Gonzalez. Thank you guys for listening. If you guys listened in, let's try and get up to 25 subscribers. Yeah, big goal. 100. Nah, I'm just messing around. I appreciate you guys for listening to the video. And don't be too mean to me in the comments. I probably said some wrong stuff and forgot to mention some things. I'm getting back in the swing of things. I promise I will improve, and this will become a little less casual and more what do you say? More professional, if you will. And we'll get better at this as we go. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, hoo day.